video response here to a question posed by Sprites and Bytes. I like doing video responses, but I really haven't had much to say on the last few that I've seen up. NovaBugs had a few, but one was technologies you miss, and I really couldn't think of anything, so I'm glad this one popped up. You know, every time I do one of these, I always think I should really throw away these posters, and then I immediately forget they exist the second I close the laptop. I think they're called old Call of Duty Zombies posters or something. Any event, these are, I picked 4 titles. I don't think there was a specific amount that you bought because of hype or that lived up to it. Maybe you bought it after it came out, but you picked it up because you heard so much good about it, so many good things about it, and they actually lived up to it. So I will go with, I think this is oldest to newest, so I'll do that. The first up for me, and I try to pick titles I haven't talked about too much before. Bushido Blade. I have talked about this one before. I even have some gameplay footage up, I think. I have talked about these, but I'm not picking like Jumping Flash or one of the Virtua Fighters, things like that. So I remember seeing this in a magazine and being just enthralled by it. That it was a weapons-based fighter, which at the time there really weren't that many of them. And something really simple like this. When you slice, you can cut the bamboo, and when you cut it, it goes diagonal and slides and falls. And this turned out to be a really great portion of the level. You can see that there's some cut stalks because you can run through and cut them all down, which little things like that, especially at the time, this was 97, that kind of interactivity was just, you know, I didn't experience that in a fighter before, or many games, to be honest. Like I said, I read about this. I could not wait to play it. And then I was on a chat program back then called Palace, and there was a guy from Hong Kong. I don't know where he lived. I think maybe Canada, but he spoke English really well. And he would go back to Hong Kong a lot, and he played this a good year or so before I got to. And he was telling me, yeah, you probably won't like it. It's slow-paced. It's not quite a simulation, but more along those lines. And yeah, he was just trying to, temper me, but I couldn't. I was so excited to play this. And then one day I go to the mailbox and I get this. This is PlayStation Underground. This is actually the second disc or issue, whatever they called them. You had to pay like 40 or 60 bucks and you got one of these a month. But what were great about these is that it was multiple discs and they had different sections. So they had cheat codes you can install straight onto your memory card. They had developer interviews and with QuickTime Video, which also was very novel back then. Now most websites seem to be dominated by videos, but back then you just did not get that a lot. They also had import demos, and I put a video up recently of Metal Slug for PlayStation. It never came out here, but if you had the issue it was on in here, you could play a demo of it and run it on your US system. But this one was the Final Fantasy issue. They had other stuff. Let me see. I think Spawn was in it. It's still pretty good art, McFarlane. Coming soon, Blasto, MLB 98. Talked about Wild Arms, Still Rain. But this one really focused on Final Fantasy VII. On this disc, you got interviews with the composer, with artists. I think you got to play a little bit of it. There were videos of gameplay. But this was kind of like a Square sampler disc. This has a playable demo of Bushido Blade and video clips of Final Fantasy Tactics and Saga Frontier. So when I saw that little thing, I lost my mind, ran inside, threw it in, and it was everything that I wanted it to be. Popped on the Palace. I told the guy I played it, and he was kind of like, I told you wouldn't like it. I said, no, you don't understand. This is amazing. I cannot believe this exists. I really hope we get it. And sure enough, we did. And what's interesting is when I talked about this, I said it's a portion of a level, and that's because it's kind of open world. There are loading times, so it's not as seamless as something today. But you could just run from area to area on one level. There are elevated plains, this little bamboo forest. So yeah, you could climb up little inclines, fall down them, cut down bamboo, fight in through little streams. It was really amazing. You could play it also in first-person mode, which was very hard. But a friend of mine, you might be able to impose time limits, but I remember we played it one round for over 20 minutes. We just could not kill each other. And this is an attack on the arm, and what was also interesting is you can hurt your opponent by body part. So if you hurt them in the arm, this arm will go limp and they have to use the other one. If you hurt them in the leg, they will fall to their knees and they have to fight like that. And I'm saying hurt because it's possible that you can damage almost every limb and not kill them, and they can still kill you. Even if you slice them, even though there's blood splatter, it doesn't actually dismember the arm. It just they can't use it until they die and you start over. You don't actually regain the use of your limbs, but you can also throw dirt in your opponent's eyes, throw little knives and fans to distract them. Just an amazing game. I'm still taken aback by it now. I was incredibly disappointed by part 2 of this, though. I rented it and I could not believe how much I didn't like it. Although there is kind of some bullshit with this. The last boss takes out a gun and shoots you. You have to beat him to get like kind of the true ending. And I couldn't believe it. I fought all the way there. And it's easy to die just on accident because of the one-hit kill mechanism. And then he pulls out a gun and shoots me. Like, what? So I completely missed out on the good endings, but I eventually got them for some of the characters. But there's 6 people and 8 weapons, and each weapon has a kind of a different fighting style, and there's different stances. So highly recommend it if you can track it down. And these are also on sale on eBay. If you're in any way interested, definitely look at these. These are really fun. I have almost all of them. Great little nostalgia pieces. Next up, like Bushido Blade, I saw a preview for this in a magazine, and I reread this small preview just countless times, and that was for Dragonforce. Now, hopefully I can find some good screenshots of it, because at the time Braveheart was still in everyone's mind. That was weighing heavily on the conscious there because of the huge fight scenes, which, until it had been decades, they had fight scenes that massive, and certainly not that well choreographed. Now you can spot little hiccups here and there of people limply kind of slowly swinging swords because they're in the background. They don't think the camera catches them. But I think everyone knows what it was like if you saw it when it came out to rent or in theaters back then. It was really impressive. And because of that, people were kind of clamoring for large battles. And this is the only screenshot I've seen so far where each side, you basically control an army through a leader. And when you engage one another, your armies fight. You don't have a lot of control over them, but you can use abilities with your general, like magic powers. Here's a duel. Your leaders will square off. And I remember all the magazines saying, Braveheart plus Japanese RPG coming to the Saturn. And that's all you really need to read. Even today, if I read that, I'd be all over it. So this finally came out. I had to go to Texas to get it. It was about an hour drive, and worth it. It is fantastic. I played this for 2 years straight. I rang in 2 New Year's Eves with the same friend who came over. He played games on my computer. I had an old Pentium 90, or back then it was a new Pentium 90, and I played this. I could not get enough of it. It's essentially paper, rock, scissors. There's a chart somewhere that explains what beats what. But you can see the map here. You take one kingdom and basically just try to conquer the rest. What you don't see here, along the way, the game map will show dotted lines and little fortresses. And you move your army along the dotted lines to take those fortresses. You can take enemy generals hostage and interrogate them and try to get them to join your side. You can fortify your position. Here's some of the kingdoms. There's Highland Kingdom, which is kind of like a more European style. There's Goldark, I would say more Scandinavian. So I'd say this is more Western Europe, Scandinavian, magic centric. Very similar to Brigandine. This is a ninja faction. It kind of looks like Blanca, but yeah, that's kind of their fighting style, more tropical. There's a few more. But yeah, just a whole lot of fun. It was really impressive to see all those sprites face off. You could pan the camera, zoom it in and out. You can watch the enemies fight each other. And the unit types were strange. They're harpies, ninjas, monks, spearmen, infantrymen, or I should say swordsmen, all sorts. This was brought out over here by Working Designs. This one doesn't have it in it, but this one came with a RAM sticker if you had a memory card. I should say a memory card sticker, but I think on the little back it said RAM card sticker or something. But in any event, Dragonforce. Love this game. Here's a better screenshot. You can see you can call down spells to kill troops, and that's it. Something like that. It's really impressive. I liked it so much that I spent a good part of a year buying a mod chip and having someone modify one of my Saturns so I could play the fan translation of Dragonforce 2. I haven't put a lot of time into it because turns out there are several printings of this game, and the initial patch was only for 2, and then if you would talk to someone on the forum, they would help you out and they would kind of roll out new patches for new versions they come across or came across. But mine was never one of those, and it wasn't until pretty recently, maybe 2 months ago, they released a universal patch for all versions. So I got it, and I didn't see that till after, so it's probably been about 4 weeks since I've known that I could actually play this. But yeah, that does work. I did put some time into it, but like the first one, it demands a lot of your time. And this is kind of my summer of role-playing games. I've already beaten Devil Summoner 2. I have, what is that, Secret of Mana, and the Famicom ready to go. I put a little bit of time into that. I want to beat about 3 or 4 RPGs and then go to the strategy RPGs, and this is one of them on my list. So if you have a modified Saturn, now there are mods to play imports. You need the one to play burn games. That is slightly different, and someone to actually do it. I have found modified Saturns for sale, but a lot of them are just the region mod. But this will work, and so far the translation I've seen is really good, and they are constantly taking feedback and updating it. So you can grab this for about $15 if you have a modified Saturn, but I highly recommend that series. Okay, you know what? This one's shorter. So a friend kept telling me I had to play this. This is one I bought after the fact. Those other 2 I bought at release. He kept telling me I had to play it. I didn't have much interest, and that's Mass Effect. I really did not enjoy Jade Empire. I did not like that game so much that whatever goodwill BioWare had built up in terms of Baldur's Gate and their Infinity engine, I just could not stand Jade Empire. And so it was like I went from very positive to negative, and I had no desire to play this. But my friend kept bugging me. He said, you have to play it. You're going to love it. And sure enough, I went. I picked up the Platinum copy because this has the DLC on disc, and I'm a big fan of that. So this is one of the few Platinum games I own, and I don't mind. Yeah, it's got an additional bonus episode, plus behind-the-scenes a few documentaries, interactive design gallery, and music tracks. But I really wanted the additional bonus episode. And I think you get a few vehicles and weapons. It's 2 discs? Yeah. So, needless to say, I love this game. Exploring the surfaces did get kind of tedious. I still didn't mind that, though. The vehicle was a bit of a pain to use. I forgot what it's called. It's it's like a buggy. I get that stuck on rocks a lot. I played through this nonstop. And when I enjoyed it so much, I immediately went out and bought Part 2. And I bought Part 2 along with Dark Spire and Persona 4. Both of those were $10. They were in a bin. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to play one of those for Mass Effect 2. No, I actually never touched those. I put Mass Effect 2 in, played it straight through, chomping at the bit. Turns out Part 3 was only about 4 or 5 months away. Went back, played some more of this, played some more too. Part 3 came out, ran through it. Love the series. I really like that you can take one character through the entire arc. I think like most people, I played a good guy just because I feel a little bad playing a dick, although that's going to change in a second in another game. But yeah, this one, probably a little rough to play now, mechanic-wise, but I have no doubt I would still enjoy it. I know people complain about the ending of Part 3. I'm not a big fan of the ending, but to me, the fact that I took one character through probably 100 hours of gameplay, that didn't detract from it. I know endings kind of have different weights with different people. A lot of people put it can make or break, and that's true with me in some sense. Especially movies, if it's a really bad ending, it just kind of sours it. For this, because it was so interactive, and I felt so attached to the character and the cast and the decisions that were made. I actually never played the new epilogue or whatever for Part 3. As a standalone, though, this was an absolute blast, an eye-opener. And yeah, I definitely got back on the BioWare wagon after that. And now last, Fallout 3. I did get this one at launch, but I knew there was a lot of hype building up to this, but I really didn't read too much of it. I already liked Bethesda. I played their earlier Terminator games that were first-person shooters. I played Arena. I think it was called Red Guard. Dragon. Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting the names. It's not Dragon. The second Elder Scrolls title. I played Morrowind some. Wasn't a massive fan of it. I liked the interactivity, but the world kind of left me a little dry there. It was just so aggressively not bland, but like earth tony, and I don't know. It didn't seem to have a spark to it. Although I did like a lot of the creatures; they were kind of exotic, and that was fun. But in general, I just like Bethesda. I knew I was going to play this. A friend of mine, the one that was in the Mass Effect, he really got into it, and he was telling me everything that you could do in it. And again, I really didn't pay much mind. I just figured I'll get it when I get it. And wow, yeah. I think like most people, when you start it, you kind of try to play it like a first-person shooter because it looks like one. And then when you come to terms with the VAT system, and I have played the first two Fallouts, so I knew the VAT system, but this one was so much different or so different that it took a little bit. But once I got accustomed to it, and this is one of the few games that I kind of played a dick in. There's one mission in particular. You have to save these people that live on a broken interstate, or it's a half demolished interstate. You save them from vampires or cannibals or something, and they were really rude to me. So I just thought, you know what, screw it, and I wiped out the town. And I thought that this is how it's going to be from now on. If anyone's ungrateful, so help me, I'm just going to wipe out your everything. Your town is not going to exist. I don't care. There's only a handful of humans left, and you're fighting against mutants and cannibals. You know, if I do you a favor, and you're going to be rude, you're going to meet my shotgun. And I end up collecting ears at one point and selling them to a guy, and then that's how you kind of get on the bad. If you're more on the evil side of the spectrum, you can start collecting ears. You take it to this little shed. There's a bunch of women on these old typewriters and taking notes, and he's in the back. So I thought, you know what? If you're a guy that collects ears, I don't like you either. Despite the fact that I had been collecting ears, but it seemed like he took too much pleasure in it. So I wiped out that entire building of people. And so yeah, I was a bit of a maverick in this. And normally I'm just kind of the nice, generic, good guy in games because I just, it's fun to help people, I guess. But in this, you know what? If it's the world of Fallout 3 and things are going to shit, and I've tried to help you, then yes, I am going to be shitty. But stuff like that was so much fun. It was such a wild ride for me. And this is the kind of the first game where my wife realized how much I enjoyed games. Her roommate played World of Warcraft a lot. So that's what she thought playing games a lot was just sitting in front of a laptop and like talking over a headset and playing Warcraft constantly. And we had kind of... No. We had been here about half a year when this came out. What year was this? Yeah. We had recently just moved into this place. And so we only had one TV hooked up in the living room, and I just wanted to play this all the time. And that's when she realized, like, oh, wow, there are going to be some times where he does not want to do anything but play games. And then I'd kind of chuckle to myself when I would be an asshole to people in the game, and she'd kind of give me looks like, what is going on over there? But she eventually kind of got into it, too, because it's just, you run across so many weird characters. There's mutants wearing 1950s garb. There's that great level. I don't want to spoil it. It's like a virtual reality simulator, but she got to see that and she was taken aback because it was just so creative. But yeah, this still holds up. I don't care how old it is. The graphics are a bit aged. I know some people prefer New Vegas, but for me, I couldn't really get into as much as Fallout 3. So those are my titles. I will link to his video below. If anyone has any, please do it and check his out so you can see kind of what he's going for and make your own response. Talk to everyone later.